many of you guys have probably been to some sort of training and you've seen this before. I learned this years ago through Peak Potentials, Tina Vecker's group. It's called the TEAR cycle. Well, he calls it something different, he calls it TFAR, but there's some local trainings that do it as well. And is anyone who's never seen the TEAR cycle before? Oh, okay, just always checking. Okay, so the TEAR cycle is basically a system of how our mind works. The one caveat I'm going to add to this is that up here usually, this middle box here, is there's an event that precedes it. So there's an event that happens in your life, and then depending on how the meaning you attach to it, determines what happens next. So when an event occurs, then you have a thought. So if I were to trip and fall off the stage right now, a thought would go through my mind. It could be positive, it could be negative. It could be, oh, that was kind of funny. Oh, that kind of woke up the crowd. Or it could be like, that was horrible, I'm so embarrassed, right? You could kind of choose either way. So the first thing that happens is a thought in our mind. When that thought, we have a little bit of a grace period here, depending on how the thought is, and it'll turn into an emotion. That emotion will depict what happens next, which is my actions. My actions affect my results, and my results will affect my next thought that I have. So in a simple, let's take something that maybe everyone's thought before. So maybe what's a typical example? Even just around New Year's resolution, you're gonna eat healthier. Okay, but then you have something happen. Maybe you're hungry, and so you have this thought of I'm going, or maybe something that you get in a fight with your spouse. Maybe you're an emotional eater, so you get in a fight with your spouse. So the thought is, oh screw it, I want that. I'm craving that. I want that. So your emotions, you start to desire it and crave it. Your action is you eat it. Your result is I gain 2 pounds, right? And then my thought is, I just don't work right. I can't do it. I don't have willpower. And then that makes you feel defeated, upset, depressed. Then you have an action, then a result, and goes back. Does that make sense? This has really shown up even with my kids. I'm sure even with all of your kids. Right? Why this is so near and dear to me is because I have a son who, in 3rd grade, we found out that he has some learning processing disorders with dyslexia. And so we were really fine with it. We knew we did all this research. We thought it was fine, and we explained it to him a little bit and thought, well, you've got all this mind stuff. We'll be good. We'll be able to help him out with it and not attach labels or meanings about what that is. But he started having thoughts of maybe I'm stupid because I can't read as well as my sister. So I'm stupid. So my emotion is, defeated. I'm not going to ever be able to read good. His actions were not trying or feeling frustrated, and then his results were he wasn't progressing. So we had to really work with him, not so much on giving him more reading help or giving him more intervention programs, was working on his thoughts. And so we created this whole system for him about how his thoughts are really important, and that he has to, every time he starts having those negative thoughts come in his mind, he's got to have his own little bubble, his own little force field around him, so that opposition, so that negative thinking does not come in and create a belief system for him. So he was really huge into Star Wars back then, and so we created that whole, do you guys know the 3rd Star Wars, where it's the planet Endor with the little Ewoks? They're the force field around you guys know what I'm talking about? The force field around the planets, we're you're a planet, and you gotta have this force field, and when things are attacking and bombarding, are you gonna let them in? Are you gonna let them take over the planet? It's no. I'm what are you gonna do? Get out my lightsaber, I'm gonna fight them off. And so we created this whole thing for him, and every day he had permission to, it could be a lightsaber, it could be a big blow, fire, I don't know what guys, fire blower thing. It could be a flame blower, yeah. It could be a machete, where he whacks them. It could be a machine gun, whatever he thinks. He loves weapons and kind of fighting all that stuff in Star Wars. And so it was really good for him to start seeing that he could start controlling his thoughts and realizing that his thoughts are not him. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't learn this when I was a kid. I was an adult and married before I actually went to a training where I really learned, oh my gosh, all that mind chatter that's going on in my head, that's not me. That's not my soul or my spirit talking to me. me. That can be other things. That can be beliefs that I incorporated through the media, through my own parents or teacher or my boy, Girl Scout leader. That all these other things that got put in there, that it doesn't mean it's me, my soul speaking and telling me those things. And does anybody else have that realization at some point in your life? Because I didn't realize that, and I wasn't teaching my kids that. And so he was thinking every time he was thinking, oh, I'm stupid, or I can't learn, that was really him, and that was his soul speaking to him. And so by teaching him how to karate chop and lightsaber all these thoughts, he was able to protect his space, his environment, his world, and now he really thinks positively about himself, and every time he has those negative thoughts, he writes them down, and he captures them and eliminates them so that he now is living in a space of, I can do it, even if it takes a little bit more work, or I'm not as good as my sisters who can read fluently. I am better and better at reading, and so it's really changed because of his mindset. So he had taken his mindset into a negative spiral of his thoughts, emotions, actions, and results. How many of us are doing that in our own relationships or about ourselves? And so thinking I'm positive. The main key here is we need to pattern interrupt. We can get stuck in these same cycles over and over and over again. And so we have this little bit of a grace period between the thought turning into an emotion. If you can pattern interrupt it and recognize it, then you can change it. And so if you ever, with my son, if you ever started to say something like, oh, I feel stupid, we'd be like, stop, cancel, do something, flick the rubber band on your arm, and then he would reinstall, no, I'm smart and people like me, or I'm smart and I can learn. And so he would say two positive things to flip the negative. So once to neutralize the negative and once to input something good. So this is something I would highly recommend if you, especially in a relationship, you're thinking, oh, we're never going to change. My spouse is never going to understand me. But a lot of times, no matter what Dino and I are teaching you today, no matter what amazing programs you guys learn, if that negative thinking is running in your head, it's going to cancel out all the great tools that you're learning today and this whole weekend. The primary place it has to start first is up here. I can give you guys the best seeds possible to grow wonderful fruit, but if your soil is completely trashed and you don't have the nutrients there, so this is where we're starting today with mindset, is that working on, okay, trying to stop it, the thought before it becomes an emotion, and block it off right here. And if you don't and you get to an emotion, okay, how can you block it before it comes into an action? And sometimes not. Maybe even have a bad action. So, for example, with my kids, so I'll probably go, well, I won't say this time. In the past, I've gone home and I've been like, okay, I walk in the door and the house is totally trashed after being at a seminar. Even if the kids know what they're supposed to be doing, they know their chores and all that, the house is trashed, they're sitting on the couch watching TV. So my thought is, my kids totally don't respect the rules. They're disobeying. They're not even respecting that Dan and I are not working. So I have a thought. That turns, do you think that can quickly turn into an emotion? Yeah. And then I'm irritated, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed. This has happened in the past. I'm just going to totally share with you. And I'm like, then I go straight into like totally being mad. And then my action is to bark at the kids and yell at them. Get off the TV, get off the couch, do your dishes. And so my action starts to be grumpy mom, snappy mom. And then the result is the kids duck and hide, they get their stuff done, but then they all scatter, like cockroaches when you turn the light on, and they're all up in their rooms and all doing their own things, and our family's not together, and we don't go, go to bed in the best place. And then my thought is, my kids, they're never going to listen. Why don't they know this stuff? How can I direct a room with 100 people, but I can't get my 3 kids to do what they're supposed to, and I can sit here and I can get myself into a whole cycle, spiral down. So, if I can stop it here, of like having my thought of like, my kids are disobeying me. If I can take a breather for a moment before I get into emotions, be like, okay, what's going on here? Let me ask questions like, how was your day? Maybe something traumatic happened, or why? Ask questions to call them into responsibility. Like, why are you not following the rules? What consequences are going to happen? What's going through your mind? If I could be in a different space, then my emotions I could calm down. But say I don't. Say I fall off the handle, and I'm in emotion, and I start being emotional about that. I have a time between my emotion and here where I could go in my room and take a couple deep breaths and then come out and talk to them. Does that make sense? Like, I can be in emotion, be annoyed, and I would be better if I just went into my bedroom and took a moment before I came out and talked to them. If I don't, I still have a chance here. If I'm in action, is to yell and bark, and be a mom to them, I still have the opportunity afterwards to come to them right here and apologize and say, you know what, I'm sorry that I totally flew off the handle and I raised my voice and we got into a big thing. I'm sorry for my part in this. I apologize for letting your choices affect me and my response to you. At least if I own up ownership of my part, I'm only responsible for me. My kids are responsible for themselves. But at least it opens up a space for my kids now to apologize for their part, or for them to make new choices, or at least to see me not in a place of reaction, but in a place of choosing. And if I do that, then when I get up here, then I can create a new thought pattern of, hey, I am powerful, I'm strong in what I'm doing, and I can choose to create something new with my kids and have new thoughts towards them and not be in cranky mom mode. And my mind is that this tear cycle is down here, and this would be more on the negative side, but that there's another tear cycle that's up here. So it still starts with a thought, but it goes this way. You still have a thought, it still can go to an emotion, an action, result, but they go this way. So just turn the little arrows this way. That these are positive. So a good thought like, hey, I'm confident, or I'm smart. Do you think that changes? If you woke up in the morning and had an affirmation of, I can do it, or I'm amazing, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, and then that will change your emotions. If you woke up every morning saying, I'm worthy, I'm beautiful, I'm awesome, I can do anything I try, then it changes your emotions, and you feel better about yourself. Your actions are, you take on the world better, you're actually more proactive. Your results reinforce that, and that brings up a new thought of, yeah, I'm pretty cool. So in my mind, these are uplifting. If you imagine this almost like as if it's a whirlwind or like a tornado taking you up, and the negative ones can spiral you down. Like if this cycle were to keep going, just imagine it kind of like spiraling you downwards, or this one spirals you upwards. Now, the thing that I'm noticing within myself, I'll say that first, and within my clients, is that sometimes they're doing this. They're trying to install new affirmations or new positive thoughts, but they've also got some of these running, and so it turns into almost like a little infinity cycle, like this. Does that make sense? It's like, I'm awesome! And then it's like, oh no, I stink, I can't do it. No, I'm awesome! No, it doesn't really work. Do you see what I'm saying? Has anybody else experienced that? Yeah. It's like, I can do it. No, I can't. You're awesome. No. And so, and to me, and the thing has a lot of positive connotations, but in this sense, you're not really getting anywhere. You're like stuck in this like continuous, non-ending cycle of this. Where versus if you had this positive, this actually, I should have done this, drawn it out this way. It actually propels you forward and upward, kind of like our stock cycle going upwards. Like it's an upward trend. This one takes you down, this one takes you up, but this just runs. Have any of you ever felt like you've been like on the hamster wheel in different areas of your life? I know I have. There's also, whether it's your emotional, your health, your marriage, your spirituality. The key here is to try to cut this off before you have to go through this whole loop. Because once you have a negative thought, you can't just have a negative thought and then get back up here. You usually cycle. Even if it's a small cycle, you'll cycle through the emotion, the action, the result, and then maybe you'll start up here. So it's to try and work on, as soon as you get into this thought, is to try to cut it off, interrupt it, and get back, and really start building yourself up through affirmations, through other things that you can do to stay on the upper cycle. Is that good? Okay, cool. I'm glad you guys like it. Now, whenever there's something that involves change, because will this involve change to cut that off? Yep. Okay, so I noticed that when most people, this is actually a study done, 15% of people in this, we'll just take this room, 15% of you will embrace change. You're like, yes, change means growth. Yes, it's a little bit painful, but yes, it's to bring it on. There's like probably 15%. There's another 60% of you in this room that are like, I'm uncertain about that. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know what investment it's going to take and time or commitment. So there's about 60% of you that are waffling on the fence. Then there's 25% of you in this room that are downright resistant to change. That's just nature. I mean, it's this group, it's any group that we're going to take. It's 25% of you are like, I don't want to change. I want to be exactly where I'm at. I don't want to do anything different. I'm just going to reject it or not even try. So that means 85% are either fearful. It could just be fear too. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean if I was really powerful and cool? What does that mean if I actually took this on? So 85% of people sit here in fear and resistance to change. So you got to kind of determine where am I in that scale.